Welcome to the Boxing Bookie. We are back.
The
It's
boxing
good to be
bookie.
back. It's down. Ah. Hang on.
Boxing with the Nets.
There we go. Boxing with the Nets. You take the intro, Dylan. Let me fix this. You take the intro.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Well, welcome back to the BK Nothing But Nets podcast. I am your co-host, Dylan, also known as Nets Press over on Instagram. Feel free to follow me over there. Joined, as always, by the main man, Gary. But yeah, today we're going to get into some topics. I know that we have some interesting conversations along with Malik Beasley, recently found not guilty for illegal sports gambling. So we'll get into that here shortly. We're also going to look into some hypothetical what ifs with if there was to be an expansion, what were the 8 players that we would be keeping. So we'll start it off. Gary, what are your thoughts on the Malik Beasley potential signing? I know that there was a rumor confirmed by Rob Murrows, who mentioned that the Nets were a team along with 7 other teams looking to add Malik Beasley potentially. There was also a follow-up report stating that the Nets may not actually show interest in Beasley because of their current roster situation. So what are your thoughts on Malik Beasley? Would you want him in Brooklyn? And let's hear
it. See, now that there are 17, I thought you were going to be able to get him on the cheap, right? And it was kind of simultaneously. Like, he was kind of cleared of the investigation, and this kind of broke, like, simultaneously. I don't know which one broke first, but they broke, right at about the same time.
I want to say that they mentioned the teams first, and then a couple minutes later, we got that the Nets were. I'll read the exact tweet that I had saw, but it was by It was by Brett Sigel. While it's possible the Brooklyn Nets could pursue Beasley using their cap space, multiple league sources have shot down such an idea as a result of the Nets rebuilding plans and focus on youthful talents. So who knows? I mean, I personally, if you want my thoughts on it, I personally wouldn't be opposed to adding a guy like Beasley simply because, one, you can use the remaining cap space on him, and 2, you can flip him at the deadline for more assets, right? A guy like Beasley to a contending team on a $10 to $15 million deal would likely be, of value, whether that be a protected first-round pick, multiple seconds, whatever it may be. Maybe you get a salary filler, like an expiring contract if you have cap space for the opposing offseason. Who knows? But I would definitely be open to the idea. I know that a lot of Nets fans are now starting to see this and saying again, well, why don't we just sign Cam Thomas? I don't know how many times I got to put it out there for you guys. It is clear as day the Nets don't give a shit about Cam Thomas. I can't keep, I've been saying this for 2 years, and nobody wants to believe me, and we're still trying to hold on to the idea that Cam Thomas is the guy in the franchise piece. He's not. You guys got to get over this at some point. Like, if you're looking at the Malik Beasleys and you're still not signing Cam Thomas, you're probably not going to see him long-term in Brooklyn, whether it's this year or next year. So some people just got to get over it at this point. But what are your thoughts on Beasley? Would you bring him in? And what would be the contract that you're looking to give him?
This is... he's 28. He'd be 29 this season. He's way older than I thought. He's been in the league since, I think, 16, 17 or 15, 16. Like, I didn't realize it's been that long. Yeah. He's been in the league. I still call him Michael Beasley by accident. No, look, Beasley's a solid offensive player. He's an excellent shooter. He gives value to any team, for sure.
Definitely.
I like him. I mean, how much do you look? If the Nets bring him in, I think that we can say that is for certain the end of Cam Thomas, right? I mean, that would absolutely be it for Cam Thomas. He's already on his last. Yeah, I think Beasley would opt elsewhere. Like, I didn't realize he's been in the league 10 years. I'm sure he's done a lot of losing. I know he played on Denver for a little bit when they were getting there, but he's done a lot of losing in his career. My guess is if the money is comparable, and the Nets aren't going to break the bank for him. The Nets aren't going to throw $25, $30 million a year at him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the most he would get is the mid-level exception, which the Nets do have available, right? And I think that's kind of where you can see, because think about it this way. If you can get a guy like him for anywhere between 10 to 14 million, you're able to easily flip him at the deadline to a contending team who has an expiring contract and a young player, right? And I think that's kind of what the Nets are still looking to do. And if the reports by Brett are true, right, then taking the responsibility of developing your youth is 100. That's the route that I've been saying to go this entire season. And when I say the youth, I'm not talking about the Claxtons and the Cam Thomases. These guys are not considered youth to me anymore. They're on their second contracts. They are what they are. there's maybe a little bit more with Cam Thomas that you can get, but again, it doesn't look like the Nets look at him as a piece that they want long term, right? And that's been evident since the day that they got him. Whether it's do not plays, not cracking rotations, getting minimal minutes, not playing at the end of a game, whatever it may be, and now going on to the contract situation. It's clear as day that they don't want him, which is why I don't add him into that youthful development group anymore. But if they do want to take that serious, then honestly, at this point, bringing in a shooter like Beasley would help out guys like Yegor and Traore with their playmaking. Adding Michael Porter Jr. as well is a huge floor spacer for these playmakers as well. So I think that they're doing things correctly as of this point. It just really depends on if they actually are serious in Beasley or not. And again, if they are, you have to cut 5 roster spots. Like we already have to cut 4. Now you would have to cut 5. So it's going to be a bit difficult to bring in a guy like Beasley unless if they have a trade ready to go. You know what I mean? So it kind of really depends on that.
So here's the I like Beasley, and if they gave him the $14 million, is that enough? I mean, he's been cleared. Like I thought this was going to hamper what he could make. Beasley's a shooter. Beasley has good value on any playoff team. Like, is there? I know Cam Johnson's about 4 inches taller, but is Cam Johnson really actually better than Malik Beasley? He's kind of comparable, except Cam's taller, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Cam's what, 6'8", 6'7", around
6'8",
that range.
Yeah,
Beasley's probably about 6'5", almost, right?
6'5".
So,
yeah,
it really depends. I mean, the lowest I can see Beasley
Cam Johnson plays like he's 6'5".
I know.
That's
yeah. The lowest I could see Beasley going is to a contending team for about $7 million, because that's I think the cheapest mid-level exception that certain teams have, especially contending teams who don't have as much salary cap. But in terms, realistically, right, if you do go out and get Beasley, if you're Brooklyn, that kind of sets you up perfectly for a sign and trade for Cam Thomas, because the Pistons would have the cap space necessary to bring Thomas in on that $14 million deal, and the Nets wouldn't really have to take back a player in return, right? I know that we want Jaden Ivey, some of us, but realistically, if you're able to bring in a guy like Beasley and then straight up trade Cam Thomas for, say an unprotected first and a protected first, I would do it, right? Because it's, again, if you can get 2 first-round picks for him, I have no problem moving off of him. It just really depends on the route that they're looking to go, because you would also have to now figure out minutes between Ivy and Thomas. But overall, I think that going after a guy like Beasley is good for a team of the Nets' nature, just because you need to get off of certain players, and you also need to have the assets necessary to be active at the deadline and get more assets in return. So I think that it's a smart idea. I would definitely be open to it. If it's like a 2-year, 2-year deal, 12, 14 million, somewhere in that range, something that you can flip at the deadline. I definitely think that it's worth it.
I want, if he's on a good contract, $14 million, let's say the Cam Thomas contract, he becomes an attractive trade piece, right? I mean, if we saw what Cam Thomas went for an unprotected first, and that was Cam Johnson. I'm sorry, Cam Johnson went for an unprotected, an unprotected first. Could they take out a salary and get a first-round pick for Beasley at the deadline?
There's a possibility. I mean, there's contending teams that are definitely going to be looking to add pieces. I mean, even if you look at a team like Toronto, right? Say that they do look good, halfway through the season, and they're looking to improve their roster. You could potentially do a trade where you flip Beasley and a guy like Zaire Williams for RJ Barrett, right? And you can maybe get a first-round pick out of that if they're trying to dump Barrett's contract. So there is different avenues where the Nets could go about this. Also, if you're looking to,
are we really there with Barrett? Off topic,
maybe you can flip Beasley.
Off topic just a bit. Are we really there with RJ Barrett, where he's a salary dump guy? I feel like he just signed that contract. Is he? Are we at the point where
supposedly that's what Toronto's viewing him as? Yeah, apparently that's what Toronto's viewing him as. And I mean, I don't agree with it. I think RJ is one of the best third options that you can have in basketball if you're trying to contend. But I mean, realistically, if they are looking to salary dump him and add a first-round pick to it, I would be all over that. Barrett's contract matches up again with Michael Porter Jr.'s. It would give you over $67 million in cap space for the 2027 offseason. I think that aligns perfectly with what Brooklyn's trying to do. I mean, if you say that the Nets do get Beasley, right, and say you get him on that $14 million deal, you could move Beasley and Zaire for RJ and some form of first-round pick, right? And I think that is 100% valuable. So it really just depends. I mean, I'm trying to look into teams right now that have guys around that $14 million range to see what the Nets could get back in return. I mean, you could be looking at, Obi Toppin with Indiana if they want to improve their roster and floor spacing, because Indiana is a team that is looking at Malik Beasley. Say they do Obi Toppin in a first, I would be open to that. You do have Detroit say that they do want to bring him back. I mean, and they don't get him and they want to trade for him. Could that be the Jaden Ivey move? Maybe. What other teams were showing interest in him? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Sacramento was another team that was looking at him. I mean, again, Malik Monk in a first for Malik Beasley and a Zaire or somebody. There could be opportunities there as well. So I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely open to the idea of Malik Beasley just because of the return that you can get back for him. I definitely think salary-wise, he would be very valuable to a lot of teams around the league. So I would definitely be open to it.
Right. And my only thing is, why would he, if there are 7 teams interested in him, and the Nets aren't going to break the bank for him, a guy at this stage of his career who's done a lot of losing, why would he choose the Nets? Assuming the money is, if you said the Nets are offering 14 and the next highest is 7 or 8, okay, well, that's why it's going to be 14, right? Yeah. But outside of that, if there are that many teams intrigued by him, which for good reason, he's a quality offensive player, he's an excellent shooter. Why would he choose the Nets?
I just think it would be money purposes, right? Say he can get a 2-year contract for 14, right? Why would you not take that over a 1-year contract for 7? You know what I mean? Go get your money and then go get flipped to a contending team where you could still be making the same amount of money as you were on a bad team, but now doing it on a contending team. I definitely think that there's opportunities for him, whether that be with, the teams that were confirmed to show interest was the Nets, Knicks, Hornets, Pacers, Pelicans, and Pistons, right? So he does have a market. And again, I mean, even if you're just hypothetically thinking, say the Nets get Malik Beasley, right? Say you get him on a $14 million deal. You could make a move with Charlotte if they really want him, where you can get Josh Green and a first-round pick for Malik Beasley, right? So there's opportunities out there that, you'll be able to flip him at the deadline for some form of assets. And again, Malik Beasley fits perfectly with what Charlotte's trying to do in terms of floor spacing. So, I mean, I'm definitely open to the idea. I'm not opposed to it. The biggest issue is going to be, again, whether or not they can trim this roster down to 15, right? And that's going to be the toughest part, because you'd have to think, as of right now, Michael Porter Jr., Terrence Mann, Haywood Highsmith, Noah Clowney, Derek, and then the 5 rookies. That's already 10 players that are likely not to be moved, right? So that kind of leaves you in the position where Claxton, Zaire, Day'Ron, Cam Thomas, and then the 4 team options, Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, Tyrese Martin, and Drew Timme. Those could be, the 7-8 guys that are looked at as replaceable. So it's really just going to depend on how the Nets view it. As of right now, you can definitely tell they're trying to focus on their youth, which, again, I agree with. This is a rebuilding season. This is the final year of truly bottoming out and hoping for a top-tier pick, because the Nets don't have their own pick in 2027. So, I mean, shit, even a team like Houston could show interest in a guy like Malik Beasley at the trade deadline, especially with them now being contenders. So it just really depends on who's willing to give up something for him at the deadline. I mean, I'm looking at Houston's roster right now. Say they want, say they do want Malik Beasley, they could just straight up give up, Tari Eason and somebody else, right? It could be a salary.
They got players I like. Yeah, they got youngish players I like that I would be willing to give a shot with the Nets. But here's what I want to say. If we sign Beasley, are we not going down the same path we went down last year with D'Angelo Russell and Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith? We are adding these veterans who are quality players. And look, Michael Beasley wants to get traded. He's going to want to average 20 on 45 shooting. You know that. Yeah. He's going to be motivated. I got the money. Now I want to get traded to a contender. He's going to want to play well, just like Schroeder and Cam Johnson wanted to play well last year to get traded. Are we just going down the same path that we went to last year? And it's a twofold thing. A, we're going to be winning games. And B, we're going to be winning games with Malik Beasley and Michael Porter Jr., not Yegor and Clowney and Traore. Like, we're winning with the wrong guys. It's not just the same thing we did last year.
Yes and no. And the reason I say no is because if you do move off of guys like Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton, then realistically, those veterans shouldn't be winning you games, right? Because think about it. You'd be moving Cam Thomas's play style to Michael Porter Jr. You'd be moving Claxton's play style to a guy like Dayron or Danny Wolf. Like these guys aren't going to impact the game as much as Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton. Now, if you put all of those vets together with Cam Thomas, with Claxton, with Michael Porter Jr., then yes, you'll probably see more wins than you want as a rebuilding team. But again, if the Nets aren't serious about bringing back Cam Thomas long term, which again, it's evident they really don't want to, then I do see adding some of these vets could be good for the rookies, right? Because if you're taking the development side of our youth seriously, you do need to add guys around them that can put the ball in the hoop, right? So for Yegor and Traore's sake, having two of the best shooters in Malik Beasley and Michael Porter Jr. could be extremely valuable. They're going to take high volume threes. 3-ball is less efficient than a 2-ball, right? So realistically, being able to have that floor spacing for those guys to create their own shots and find their lane in the paint, while also being able to kick it out to these shooters, it could definitely be something of value. But do I see us winning games if Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton aren't on this team and you replace them with Malik Beasley and Michael Porter Jr.? Probably not. But if they are trying to keep Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton while adding these vets, then yes, I do see them winning more games than you and I would probably want to see next season.
To me, like, if you got a team with Beasley and Michael Porter Jr. and they get hot, those are two shooters right there.
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
You're still bad. Like, you're still very bad. But like, I don't know that you're as bad as you want to be. Like, if Beasley and Porter get cooking, you might win that game. They're that good of shooters where they could just keep draining shots.
No, there's definitely a chance. I mean, again, though, you also have to remember Michael Porter Jr. isn't playing with a Nikola Jokic anymore, right? There's no true paint dominance on the Nets that can put up 30 a game like Jokic can, right? So realistically, that's going to allow teams to guard the perimeter more, knowing that the Nets would be more of a shooting team rather than a in the paint dominance team. Because Claxton doesn't have the paint presence where he can give you more than 12 points per game. Dayron, same thing, probably not more than 12 points per game. Danny Wolf hasn't shown any form of NBA-ready physicality to where he can be a paint-dominant type of big. So the Nets would really be focusing on the playmaking aspect of their rookies, along with the shooting aspect of some of these vets. Living or dying by the three is something that doesn't work in the NBA. We've seen it time and time again. The Celtics most recently just tried to do it this year again, and it didn't work. I don't think the 3-ball is something that a lot of teams should prioritize just because, again, living or dying by it, you can be, hot for 3 games straight and shoot 52% as a team from 3 and win games. But then there's going to be 5-6 games in a row where you could be shooting a sub 35% as a team from 3, and you're going to lose those games because if you have no other aspect to your game, then there's really not going to be a lot of wins correlating with it. So it just depends. I think, like I said, if they move on from Cam Thomas and they move on from Nick Claxton and you have a starting lineup that consists of Yegor, Malik Beasley, Michael Porter Jr., Noah Clowney, and Dayron, that's a lot of youth and a lot of losses that's going to come with it, especially with the bench unit, right? Because your bench would probably be looking like Traore, Derek, Drake Powell, Zaire, Danny Wolf. Like that could be a lot of losses with that bench unit. So it just really depends on how they're going to utilize it.
Yeah. So here's my question. In regards to Cam Thomas, they're obviously at least flirting with the idea of Malik Beasley. How disrespectful is that to Cam Thomas? Like, really? Like.
Listen, at this
Malik,
point, at this point,
matter.
at this point, it's just they don't want him long term. People have to understand that. Like, I understand some people are diehard fans of Cam Thomas. Some people think that he is the next coming of Jesus Christ. Like, it's not what the Nets want long term. It's clear as day. And if you're a Nets fan, you got to just understand it, move on from it, and just understand that it's going to happen at some point that he will not be on this team long term. It's just that's how it's looking, right? They haven't shown any signs of upping their offer. They haven't shown any signs of giving him more years on a contract. There's really no room for negotiation on Cam Thomas's end. When you're a player of his nature who has one aspect to his game of, starting caliber player, which is his scoring, scoring's replaceable. It truly is. Some people think it's not, but at the end of the day, it is, right? You can very well see if Cam Thomas is not on this team next year, Michael Porter Jr. putting up the same amount of points per game as him. right? So scoring
It's
isn't
the shot creation.
great.
It's not just like, oh, can I get someone else who could score 24 points a game? You can find a guy that can score 24 points a game. I agree with you in that regard. It's the shot creation. It's the guy that constantly demands a double team. It's all of that. It's not just, the box score at the end of the day. Someone has to go in there, demand a double team. Someone has to go in there and be able to create their own shot. Otherwise, it just looks like last year when you're 3-point hunting, passing the ball around the perimeter, trying to play, pitch, penetrate and pitch with Tyrese Martin. And it's like, this is a dysfunctional, disgusting offense, right? And Cam Thomas is going to demand attention. He's going to demand double teams. He's a guy that can create his own shots as opposed to just passing the ball around the perimeter, trying to get an open three.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can get double teamed all you want, but there's a difference between guys who get double teamed and are able to create something out of it and guys who get double teamed and, brick shots all day long, right? Jalen Brunson gets double teamed, but he has an aspect of playmaking where he can put up 6 to 7 assists per game, right? You have guys like Kyrie Irving who, once they get double teamed, they can kick it out and put up, 4.5 to 5.5 assists per game. Cam Thomas doesn't have that aspect to his game. So realistically, how valuable is a guy who gets double teamed when he can't do the second aspect of a game at his position that needs to be done, right? And I think, again, that's where the Nets are kind of in a situation where, do they see him as a guy who can help develop these young players, or do they see him holding back some of these young players? And again, when you have a guy who's so ball dominant and can't create that playmaking aspect to their game at a level that is at least of a starting NBA player, then there's a bit of a problem there, especially as an undersized 2 guard. You have to have that second ability to your game that allows you to be valuable on the floor. So again, it depends on how the Nets view it, and it's clear as day that they don't view him as a valuable piece. We can have the debate all day long. Yeah, we can have the debate all day long on whether or not we want him back. Me personally, I would like to see him back, but it's like you said, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter because the Nets clearly don't view him as a long-term piece. Realistically, right. I'm not against not viewing him as a long-term piece simply because you got him 27th overall. You know what I mean? Anybody in this league will tell you, if you are a top 5 pick, you are already more valuable than a guy who was picked at 27. It doesn't matter if you are in year 5, if you're in year 1, you're replaceable. And Cam Thomas's game is replaceable, the overall aspect of it. If a guy gives me 20 a game, but it can at least give me 5 assists, that's more valuable than a guy that can give me 23.5 on inefficient shooting and 3 assists per game. You know what I mean? So it really depends on how the Nets view it, and it's kind of showcased throughout this entirety of the offseason that they don't view him as a long-term piece.
Yeah, like I said, that's been obvious since day one. Like there's no value here for him. I mean, the Nets don't value him. I've said over and over again. Sean Marks values Cam Thomas the same way that I value Mikal Bridges, which is to say not at all. No. I don't have. I think I could replace him with countless people. Like it does. I'm not offering him a contract. I'm not making any effort to keep him here. If he wants to leave, God bless him. If he wants to take a mid-level exception contract, that's fine too. But I'm not budging on this. I value Cam Thomas a lot more than that, but it doesn't matter what I think. He's gone. And I honestly, this is the next question I wanted to get into. Is Sean Marks going to value Malik Beasley more than he is Cam Thomas? Who's the better basketball player, Malik Beasley or Cam Thomas?
Cam Thomas. That's not, okay. You know what I mean? A guy that gives me 23, 24 per game compared to a guy who gives me 14 or 15 per game, yeah, you're going to see more value in the guy that's giving you.
Yeah, but Cam Thomas ain't scoring 24 points a game on Detroit. Wait.
I mean, realistically, with Cade Cunningham as your lead point guard and the ball away from you, if he's a guy who can play off ball or as a secondary ball handler to create his shot, I can see him still putting up the same amount of points as he was in Brooklyn. It's just, again, you're not going to know if that's valuable in Brooklyn because you're not contending, because you're not making pushes for the playoffs. And he's been on a playoff team. He didn't earn his minutes on a playoff team. I don't care who you think the coaches were and if they had a vendetta against him. At the end of the day,
it's a vendetta. They had Kyrie Irving on the team. It's like Jermaine O'Neal was one of the best power forwards in his prime that you ever saw in your life.
Mm-hmm.
He was on a team that was stacked at that position, and he couldn't crack the rotation. Right? They had Brian Grant, they had Detlef Schrempf, they had all these. Scottie Pippen was on the team.
Well, that's the thing, though. The backup shooting guard of the Nets during that time period was who?
I'm trying.
It was
I
Seth
mean, I
Curry and
guess
Patty Mills and
it was
Bruce
Seth
Brown.
Curry and Patty Mills.
Like
Yeah.
Cam
Patty
Thomas
Mills was
could
kind
have.
of like the starting 2, 3, 4. Like Patty Mills, Bruce Brown started on that team.
Yeah, he started towards the second half of his tenure in Brooklyn because he proved himself. And that's my point. When you play with 3 head coaches that don't even view you as a rotational piece on a contending team, you can't come out and think that this is they're just against Cam Thomas. He didn't earn his minutes on a team with 3 different head coaches in a time frame where they were contending. So at the end of the day, if they don't view him like that, there's nothing that you can do as a fan but say he didn't earn his minutes, and you have to prove it on a team that's doing that. And that's why I think Detroit's the best situation for him. They're in the midst of contending. They may not be contending for a finals right now, but if they can make it to a second round and Cam Thomas is on a team where he can prove himself like that, that's different. But when you're putting up 24 a game on below league average efficiencies, you played 22, 23 games last season. There's really nothing that showcases that he's the guy for you moving forward. You know what I mean? And especially when you look at it from a statistical standpoint, he's 9-16, 9-17 as a starter this past, or like 9-15 this past season as a starter, or something. He was below 500 as a starter this year in terms of his win-loss. Again, I don't care who's on his team. When you're a player of that nature and you think that you're the guy, you're supposed to prove that. So the fact that he's below 500 as a win-loss ratio as a starter in his entirety of his career, also while being at this past season, the Nets probably don't view that as a guy that's going to change their franchise. You know what I mean? A guy who changes your franchise is a guy that you can get in the top 5 this upcoming year. This past season
but
as well.
He's not asking for franchise changing money. $30 million a year is the number 3 player on the team.
That's not $30 million on a rebuilding team is your guy. You know what I mean? Like, look at Alperen Sengun, right? Houston paid him, and they paid Jalen Green. They paid,
but on a team that you're expected to lose with, right? Like,
Houston wasn't a team that was. Houston wasn't a team that was contending until this past season, and even this past season, they weren't viewed to be a top 4 team in the West like they were. You know what I mean? They got paid.
Weren't contending, but
they got paid during the rebuild process.
You could see the year before. It's kind of like with Portland, right? Like you could see it coming together. Like Houston,
I don't think anybody thought Portland last season was going to be a 30-plus win team. Portland, we were saying, would have been a top 5 pick in
Nets,
competition with Brooklyn. Yeah. So that's my point. Like Houston wasn't a team that was contending, and they paid both of their guys who they drafted in the top 10. They paid them both similar money. One of them proved themselves. The other one proved that they were replaceable. And if you're comparing Cam Thomas's game to anybody, it could be similar to Jalen Green, an all-offensive player who doesn't score with efficiency and has one aspect to their game. Hence why he got traded for a superstar, right? And I think that's, again, where people aren't seeing the correlation. These guys in the league who are one-dimensional scorers on teams who are going to start taking that next step towards contention are always replaceable, right? And that's where the biggest problem is. Devin Booker, to start his career, was an all-offensive player, but the difference is he found that second aspect to his game where he can put up 6+ assists per game, hence why he's now the point guard of the Suns, right? Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell was a guy who entered the league who was really just a primary scorer. Now he's in a position where he's considerably the secondary ball handler behind Darius Garland in terms of offensive setup, and he's giving you 4 or 5 assists per game along with that 28+ per game, right? If you're going to be a slightly below average playmaker as an undersized 1 or 2 guard, you have to be able to put up like 27+ per game, right? The Kyries, the Donovan Mitchells, those are guys who have that secondary aspect to their game where, yes, they can give you 26+ per game, but they can also give you 5 assists plus per game. So that's the secondary aspect to his game that he has not showcased, whether it's on a rotational minutes restriction, if it's as a starter this past season, if it was being a starter last season, or I should say 2 seasons ago now. He really hasn't showcased the ability to find that second aspect to his game. So at the end of the day, it's replaceable.
So more like, I want to start with this question. As a winning piece for a team like Detroit, or really just in general, who's a better winning piece, Beasley or Cam Thomas?
Who's a winning piece?
Yeah,
well, it depends. What team are you looking at? Are you looking at Detroit or are you looking at Brooklyn?
I was looking at Detroit because obviously Beasley last played for Detroit. Cam Thomas has been rumored to Detroit. Who's better for Detroit?
I would say Cam Thomas as of right now because they still because if I'm not mistaken, is Tim Hardaway Jr. back with Detroit or did he go elsewhere? Did he go to Denver?
I want to say he went to Denver. I was just going to say that. Let me look him up real quick.
I'm looking at it right now.
Denver Nuggets, yeah.
Okay. So they lost him, right? But at the end of the day, they also still have Jaden Ivey. For Jaden Ivey to be your sixth man and give you that 16 to 18 per game with 38+% from three, that's good, right? And you also still have Tobias Harris. I think they have, who else do they have over in Detroit right now? Let me try and find their roster. Let's see. I love how whenever I'm trying to look something up in the midst of a topic, my Wi-Fi just loves to shit itself. But I can be sitting on this phone all day long during a stream and absolutely no lag whatsoever. Okay, I'm loading in now. So Detroit currently has Tobias. Okay, so they replaced Tim Hardaway Jr. with Duncan Robinson. So they have the floor spacing there. They also brought in Karis LeVert. They have Jaden Ivey still. Ron Holland and Asor Thompson are expected to take some form of leap. They still have Jalen Duren. They brought in Paul Reed. They still have Marcus Sasser, who took a leap last year. Replacing Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. with Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, and Cam Thomas, that's definitely something that would be probably more valuable to them than Malik Beasley as of right now. So I think Cam Thomas on Detroit would definitely improve them as a roster. Now, if you're talking about Brooklyn, I think neither of them improve you as a roster in terms of what you're trying to accomplish next season, because Cam Thomas has proven time and time again that he's not a winning player yet. And Malik Beasley's a role player, right? So it kind of just cancels each other out. I think Detroit with Cam Thomas would definitely be a better team with their current roster construction than they would be with Malik Beasley, simply because they do need that guy that can help Cade in terms of secondary points per game. And if you could have three guys on your team with Cade, Cam Thomas and Jaden Ivey, each averaging 17+ per game, that's definitely something that they can contend with in the Eastern Conference. So I 100% think the best situation for Cam as of right now would be a team like Detroit.
I think Detroit or Orlando is a perfect fit for him, but
I think Orlando's horrible for him now. They got Bain.
Do you really?
Yeah, they got Jalen Suggs at the one.
I still view him as a bench player. Bain's your starter. Bain's
you would use more. I think the best situations right now for Cam Thomas in terms of what his career growth could be is Detroit and Sacramento. Sacramento, he'd be the number one. They'd be fully rebuilding around him, right? Or retooling, I should say, because they'll probably have Sabonis in him. They're still going to probably have to try and look to move off of a guy like, DeMar DeRozan. But overall, you'd have some form of roster built around Devin Carter, Cam Thomas, and Sabonis and Keegan Murray, right? So I think in terms of where he could accomplish himself as a number one option, Sacramento is probably the best case scenario for him. But in terms of just the best position for his career as of right now to be able to compete while also showcasing he can be a viable number two option, I think that would be Detroit right now.
I want to do a quick exercise real quick, and I just want to show you I was called a Cam Thomas stan. Now I'm going to be called a Cam Thomas hater. I just want to run down the teams that are truly competitive, the teams that we think can compete to be in the conference finals. Mm-hmm. How many of these teams would even entertain the idea of putting Cam Thomas on their roster? Detroit, they would. Yeah, they help Detroit.
I mean, we can go in order of the teams that we're expecting. I'm going to the standings right now. Cleveland.
All right, let's go to the standings.
Yeah, Cleveland. No. Boston.
No shot.
No. New York.
Shot.
No. Indiana.
No shot.
No. Milwaukee and Detroit.
Hang on. Indiana this year with no Halliburton.
He just doesn't fit the scheme of how they play. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
you're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like San Antonio and Miami. They each of those teams have a system that works for them, and they never bring in players that go outside of that system. So Cam
it's
Thomas,
a system, and you're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
To me, Indiana, no. Milwaukee and Detroit, yes. I think Milwaukee and Detroit.
Milwaukee's not competitive. Like I know they got Giannis, but Milwaukee's not active.
I mean, listen, if you put in a guy that puts up 30, 12, and 6 a night in Giannis with, defensive player of the year like defense, you put along Miles Turner, who's probably the best floor spacing big man next to Karl Anthony Towns, and is also a top tier rim protector who can give you 15+ and 2 blocks per game. And then you also add in a guy that can give you 23+ per game in Cam Thomas as a secondary scorer. I definitely think that would be some form of contention. Now, is it going to be a finals team? Probably not. But is it a team that can make the semifinals, potentially the Eastern Conference Finals, depending on health of the roster?
Yeah, That's what I mean by competing. Can you make the conference finals as currently constituted? If you,
I mean, it's going to be tough playing against teams like Orlando, New York, and Cleveland because of the depth that they have. But again, it just depends on injuries.
Detroit's better than them, right? Like,
well, if you add Cam Thomas to Milwaukee and somehow Detroit loses Malik Beasley, then I would probably put Milwaukee over Detroit just because of the star power that they have around them. But again, so Milwaukee and Detroit, I would say yes. Orlando, I would say no. I just don't think he's a scheme fit. Atlanta, no. They have Trae Young, and they just added a ton of depth.
Yeah, you can't play him with Trae Young. Yeah, that ain't work.
Chicago, Miami, Charlotte, Washington, Brooklyn. They're not
competing.
I
just want to do the good teams. I just want to say
just okay. So Toronto.
So Toronto.
I would say
okay. I'll put Toronto in the mix, but
I'll put him there just because if he's playing next to Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, and Scotty, then sure. But if he's playing,
someone's got to pass the ball. Like if I get him, then RJ's got to go. And who?
See, I disagree. I think Emmanuel Quickly would have to be the guy.
RJ Barrett. Ooh.
Because I think RJ and Scotty could both.
Who's better at basketball, RJ Barrett or Cam Thomas? Who's better at basketball?
Overall, RJ Barrett.
Yeah, by far, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know about by far, but in terms of the role that he plays, yes. RJ being a guy that can give you 25 and 5. Yeah, he gives you 25 and 5, which I think is very, very valuable, right?
He can defend threes. He can defend fours.
Yeah.
He's strong as hell, right?
That's why I think if you were to replace Emmanuel Quickly with Cam Thomas, then that could work because you could run Scotty as the point guard. He has the playmaking ability to do so as a point forward, right? He could be that Ben Simmons caliber player for you. So if you run Scotty at the 1, Cam Thomas at the 2, RJ at the 3, Brandon Ingram at the 4, and Jakob Poeltl at the 5, yeah, that's definitely something that could contend in the East next season. So I'll throw Toronto in there.
All right.
Yeah, we have Milwaukee, Detroit, and Toronto. Philly, they just don't have the assets to get him, nor do I think playing him, Tyrese Maxey,
Maxey is not going to work,
and BJ Edgecombe together. That wouldn't work. So you got 3 teams in the East that would work. Going into the Western Conference, OKC no.
I'd say 4. No. I think Orlando works, but he's coming off the bench, right?
I'm mainly looking at teams where he could be a 2 through 3 option on a contending team.
I'm just looking at teams that might be interested in him for $14 million, whatever the next.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough. I don't know if they're going to look at him. Okay. Let's say as of right now we have a guaranteed 3. Right,
3. You can have 3, and I have. We're not far off here. We're not.
All right, that works. Yeah. So OKC.
You're gonna say 3.
Yeah. All right. So OKC will say no. Houston will say no.
No.
Lakers no.
No.
Denver no.
Again, to me, he doesn't fit in the system. Could they bring him off the bench? Is he a bench piece on Denver?
Is he a bench piece? I mean, he's a bench piece on majority of rosters. You know what I mean? So that's why
he can't ever play with the Knicks. They already got Clarkson. Like he can't. He would never play.
Well, Clarkson would be the one off the bench.
And you're gonna play Clarkson and Cam Thomas together.
I mean, we watched them put out Miles McBride and a bunch of no names last season. So yeah, I mean, I would think you can do so. That's why I'm saying I'm really not looking at bench units like Minnesota. No, the Clippers. No, Golden State. Doesn't fit the scheme of what they play. Memphis,
could you
maybe.
Imagine Cam Thomas going into his ISO dribble package and Steph Curry is standing on the wing and he's not passing?
That'd be horrible.
What are you doing?
I'll say yes to Memphis because I think they do need a Desmond Bane replacement, but he just doesn't bring the defense.
I thought it was a fit. Memphis.
So Memphis will say yes. So for me, that's 4. Sacramento, in terms of contending, no. Dallas, no.
No.
Phoenix, no. They have Jalen Green, Devin Booker. That's definitely no. Portland, they're not contending. San Antonio, God, no. Doesn't fit the system.
No.
Pelicans, no. And Utah, no. So for me, I got 4 teams where he could be traded to, where he could actually be a viable piece to contend.
I have 4. I agree with the 4. And then I think there are 2 competitive teams that could use him off the bench. And that's Orlando and Denver. So we both agree that there are 4 teams that he could go in and start for. Yeah. I think there are 2 teams that would value him as a 6th man in Orlando and Denver. I think Denver, I don't know. He just might be a bull in a china shop there too. It's like, you got to come off the court, bro. Like, this is my point. The value, you guys who love Cam Thomas, I love Cam Thomas too. I love his, but I also like guys like Jordan Clarkson and Lou Williams. I love those guys. But you have to understand his value. We just went through every good team in the NBA that may compete to be in the conference finals. 4 of the 16 playoff teams, 4 of the 16 might have some use for him. Not that they want him, but might have use for him.
Yeah. Listen, at
Guys,
the end of the day, it comes down to value.
Yeah.
It comes down to value. And as fans, you have to be realistic as well, because being unrealistic, sure, you can be unrealistic all you want, but all you're doing is putting yourself down when these realities become reality, right? When Cam Thomas eventually gets let go or traded, you're going to see it as the end of the world. I'm going to see it as, I saw this coming 2 years ago. It's not going to surprise me. It's not going to hurt me. I watched my two favorite players in the NBA get traded within a week of each other, Kyrie and KD. And, that hurt because I was overly invested in those two players. That's why I don't get invested in players anymore, because that everybody's at some point going to be traded, is going to be leaving free agency, is going to demand a trade. It doesn't matter who is here, right? Unless if these guys that are coming in are drafted players that you can build around, I don't care anymore. And that's just kind of the direction of what the Nets have showcased us as fans, is they're not looking to compete this year. They weren't looking to compete last year, and they're probably not going to look to compete in 2027 until they have some form of structure in terms of the youth that they bring in that they can build around. So,
and this is a lesson you should learn. As a kid, when you're young, you got your favorite players posted on your wall, and you're a fan of that guy. And like, I loved Kenny Anderson as a kid, right? And then I loved Marbury, and Marbury was traded for Jason Kidd, and I was pissed about it because I love Marbury. The greatest thing that ever happened to the Nets was that
greatest
trade.
thing that ever happened
to the franchise was that trade, right? And when they made it, I was pissed because I had just gotten an authentic Marbury jersey, right? I love Marbury, and then they traded him, and they traded Kenny Anderson, and then you get older and your team sucks, and you see the Yankee fans and all these other fans, they're cheering their teams winning. You're like, wait, I want to do that. So then the player doesn't matter anymore. I just want to see my team win. It doesn't matter that I loved Marbury.
And again, if you're looking, and if you're looking at how the NBA has worked recently, let's just go down the list of teams again that are contending. Cleveland, they drafted Evan Mobley, they drafted Darius Garland, they traded for Donovan Mitchell, they traded for Jared Allen, right? Again, they didn't have Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell before they had Garland and they had Mobley. You drafted two guys, you build the roster around them. Boston, they used our picks to go get Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. What did they do to contend? They traded for Derek White, they traded for Porzingis, they traded for Drew Holiday. You have your foundation first before you move in onto your next. Indiana, one of the few teams like the Knicks where you're able to trade for your guy and build around that, right? Very slim chance of that happening. It doesn't happen very often. Still a slight chance, not in the position of what Brooklyn's currently in, right? Milwaukee, you drafted Giannis. I believe they drafted Chris Middleton, if I'm not mistaken. And then they added Brook Lopez.
No, Chris Middleton came from Detroit, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, he was a second-round pick or undrafted free agent or something. Middleton
was it within was it within his first 2 years? Because I consider if you're still,
I think it was his rookie year. He got traded.
Okay, so realistically, to me, that's them drafting him, right? Like that's the same thing with Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, it's the same thing with Kawhi Leonard getting drafted.
Detroit. I think he was undrafted.
Okay, it's like the same thing with Kawhi. He got drafted by the Pacers, but in his first season got traded to San Antonio. That's how I kind of consider it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like second round pick. He played 27 games.
Right. So they practically drafted. So they drafted Giannis. They practically drafted Middleton, and then you brought in Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday to win around you. Again, a team that built a foundation prior to contending. And that's kind of my point. Like Denver, same thing. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Jokic, and then they built the rest of the foundation around them with Bruce Brown and guys of that nature to contend and win a championship. You have to have your foundation built first prior to going out and contending. Again, it's a very slim chance that you can trade for a guy who becomes a superstar, who becomes the guy, and then you can build around them later on. But even if you look at Indiana, they drafted Andrew Nembhard, they drafted Miles Turner, they drafted a lot of these guys, Benedict Mather and Jarris Walker, and then they moved in on role players like Obi Toppin, and guys of that nature who they were able to bring in afterwards. Let's see, we got a question here. How do you see Brooklyn's future if the Nets don't get a top 3 pick next year and the rookies, Jaeger, Traore, et cetera, are disappointing? You got to sit there and fucking ride it out. You can't go all in when you don't have the foundation built, right? So if it takes one bad season in 2027 where you don't have your own pick and you're still not ready to go in and try and add some pieces to the roster, go into 2028 and still continue trying to rebuild through the draft. Realistically, 3 top 10 picks rather than just 1 top 3 pick is still something that could be a foundation builder, right? Like if you look at OKC, they drafted Nikola Topic between picks 10 through 14. They drafted Jalen Williams between picks 10 through 14. that's a team that's been very well at drafting overall. Isaiah Joe, I believe, was a second-round pick. Same for Andrew Wiggins. It just takes time, right? So, we don't have the opportunity and luck of having an SGA, and we also haven't had the luck of drafting in the top 3 for a guy like Chet. But if you're able to maintain drafting in the top 10 and have more picks throughout the future where you can add players later in the rounds, at some point you're going to hit on some of these guys and be in a position. Now, if it goes past 2028 and you're still not seeing some form of help in the players that you've drafted, then you switch it up, because at that point the rebuild's not working. You have a horrible developmental staff and you have a horrible front office that can't draft for shit. And at that point you need to look at an entire front office change, because you couldn't win with 3 superstars and you couldn't rebuild the team properly within 4 years. Then you have to look at the front office. So that's how I would see it. But realistically, I think Yegor is going to be very solid. I don't see him being your 1 or 2 option, but I do see him being a primary ball handler and point guard to a team where he can give you 15, 6, and 6 a night, similar to a guy like Josh Giddey. Again, Traore, I view him as an Andrew Nemhard, a guy who can play the 1, but will likely play the 2 next to a guy like Yegor, who can play that perimeter defense style of play if he can expand his game and find a 3-point shot. With his quick first step, that's an unlimited amount of upside in terms of being a role player in this league. So I think they have some form of foundation built. It's just going to depend on if they can draft that guy. And, say they miss out on the top 3 next year, but they're in between picks 4 and 5. You're still looking at guys like, Nate Ament, Chris Sinak, Tonda, whatever his last name is. There's guys out there that you can still get who could change your franchise. It's just going to be a little bit harder to develop them. But I don't know. I mean, to me, the goal and the mindset has always been, since trading for our picks back, tanking 2025, tanking 2026, reevaluate the roster in 2027, and see where you're at in that offseason when all of those stars and superstars and high caliber role players are free agents.
I want to. Oh, one last question until we move on to this. I want to spend 20 minutes on this so before we wrap.
Yep.
More likely to play for the Brooklyn Nets next year, Cam Thomas or Malik Beasley?
I'd probably say Malik Beasley. Shit, I'd probably say anybody at this point than Cam Thomas. I mean, listen, we're about to head into September. Training camp starts in like 3-4 weeks. You know what I mean? This guy hasn't had any form of improvement in terms of contract negotiations. They have to cut the roster to 15. I don't see Cam Thomas being on this team. I don't think they view him as a player that can help the progression of the guys that they just drafted. And realistically, if you're looking at it from an NBA front office standpoint, you drafted 3-4 guys before you even drafted Cam Thomas in his draft class. You're probably going to view them and utilize them as more important in terms of their development than you are going to with Cam Thomas as of right now. It's the sad reality, but it's the truth.
Right now, I'm hanging up 2 jerseys in my rafters. I'm in my man cave. I'm setting up a Nets a Nets Hall of Fame, a ring of honor of Nets players that no one cares about. So right now I got the D'Angelo Russell and the Gerald Wallace jersey hanging up. Am I adding Cam Thomas to that? We retiring.
You will likely be adding Cam Thomas to that. At least I think.
Are now obsolete.
I mean, even if Cam Thomas is back on this roster this season, I do see him being traded at the deadline. Yeah.
No, I don't see him finishing the season, and that's why it's with the Nets. That's why they should agree. They should come to terms with something before. And I thought it was a joke when they first said that $14 million a year for 2 years. And Dylan kind of was like, well, and then I heard Jeff Teague say the same thing. And it's like, you guys are kind of swaying me. He should just take the money. It's a tradable contract. Just take the $14 million. It's not going to deter a team from trading for you. You can go to a playoff team. You can try to score 20 points a game in the playoffs and try to get a contract off of that. But you got 2 years to do it. And next year don't look better for you either, Cam.
Yeah. Realistically, as of right now, he's 24 years old. If he signs that 2-year deal, he'll be 26 when he's eligible to sign another contract.
The peak of his career.
If you can prove yourself, you're still looking at 2 contracts where if you are able to prove yourself as a potential all-star player, you could still have 2 contracts from the time that your 2-year deal expires at 26, 27 years old to the time that you're 32, 33 years old when your next contract is, right? Say he signs a contract in 2 years for $30 million. say it's a 3-4 year deal, he'll be 29, 30, 31 years old, somewhere in that range where he's going to be able to sign another deal similar to that nature, if not more. So realistically, what you're losing out on $16 million that you think you're worth that you're not. You still are making $14 million for 2 straight years. That's $28 million more that you're going to make rather than the $7 million that you can make just for 1 year and still have to put yourself in a position next offseason to get signed by a team. At this point, either take the contract or just demand the trade, because it's not worth it long term for both sides.
But if he demands a trade, he's still going to have to take the $14 million a year contract, because that's a tradable contract. That's the contract you're on. It's not like someone else say, "Yeah, give him $30 million and I'll trade for him." Ain't nobody traded for him at $30 million, right? So Either way, he's getting the $14 million contract. That's what he's getting. Just take it, and they can trade you. So. There's not another team in the league that's looking at, Cam Thomas, yes, give him $30 million and we'll trade for him. No, that doesn't exist.
No, not at all.
At 14, you can trade him. And that's why I think it's your best bet just to do that. Like, to just get to a playoff team and show that you can score the ball in the playoffs. When everything slows down and the defense really clamps down, that you can still put the ball in the hoop. If you can do that, you'll get a contract. It's your only chance. And like Jeff Teague said, $14 million a year is a pretty good living. He ain't wrong.
I do disgusting things to make $14 million a year. I mean, it's crazy how some of these guys complain about money like this, and it's also crazy on the fan side of things that there's people that actually go out of their way to defend crying about money of this nature. Like, dude, you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a child's game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to complain and bitch about a couple million is crazy to me, because half of these guys end up retiring at some point and losing all that money anyway, because they have no form of financial mindset to keep that money growing long term. So realistically,
with boxing, when finance gets in the way, like the Crawford Spence fight, for example, it took 5 years to make, and people are like, well, don't you want them to get paid? Like, I don't care how much they get paid as long as they agree to the contract. I don't care. I don't mind their pocket. I don't care. If Terrence Crawford says, I want to take this fight for $1 million, go ahead. What the hell do I care? Right? Just make the fight. I don't, as a fan, I just want to see the fight. I don't care how much they're getting paid. So, buying other people's pocket, and they're saying, well, Cam Thomas should make this much because, Nick Claxton got this, or Emmanuel Quickly got this. It's like, don't worry about it. The only thing I care about is that the player agrees to the contract. That's it. I don't care how much he gets paid. All right, I want to move on to this. There's been lots of rumors for years now. Floyd Mayweather has kind of confirmed that there's going to be expanded as a team, and he's in the ownership group of the Las Vegas team. The two rumors are Las Vegas and Seattle that are going to land NBA teams.
I still think there's a chance Mexico City gets one before Seattle.
I want to get into that. Yeah.
But the only 4 teams right now that I see is Mexico City, Las Vegas, Seattle, and one more added Canadian team. I think those are the 4.
So Jersey's out. Right, Jersey's not getting a team?
They're not going to touch Jersey. They're too pussy to try and build an actual fan base over there.
Would you quit the Nets if the Jersey got a team? They got the New Jersey Swamp Dragons.
Probably not. Probably not. Just because it's already the Nets. The Nets are still the Nets, whether it says New Jersey or Brooklyn on the front of it. I don't care which one it says. It's still the Nets, right?
Yeah.
Now, if Brooklyn changed their name to the Swamp Dragons and the New Jersey team became the Nets, then maybe we'll talk. But no, if it says Nets on it, I'm still going to cheer for them.
All right. You ready for this exercise?
Let's do it.
This is actually extremely hard because there are not 8 guys I want to protect.
Interesting. I would say there are.
All right. So you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I'll start it off with Noah Clowney, Drake Powell, Traore, Yegor. So that's 4. I would definitely protect Claxton, MPJ, and CT. So that's 7. And that kind of puts me at a point where, do I want to bring back Sharp, Mann, or Whitehead? Because realistically, it comes down to, do you want a guy with upside in Whitehead who's still young? Do you want a guy that's affordable in Sharp who could be, a player off your bench that you could utilize? Or do you want a guy in Mann who you could trade for more pieces at $15.5 million per year? Bringing in Traore and Yegor, you have your guards. You have Cam Thomas. You have your guard. You got Clowney, you got Claxton, those could be your bigs. You have MPJ, that could be a wing. You got Drake Powell, that's a wing. So to me, if I had to pick, I'd probably say, either Terrence Mann or Dayron, just because I think Mann's tradable and Sharp is a guy that you can still develop. So I would say one or the other for this specific exercise. I'll say Mann. I'll switch it up.
Man. All right. So did you have all 5 rookies?
No. I only had
Okay.
3: Yeager, Traore, and
3.
Powell.
And then you had TT, MPJ, Mann, and who were the other 2?
Claxton and Clowney.
Claxton and Clowney. Okay. We're going to disagree quite a bit on this. I think if you can get someone to take Claxton, don't protect him. Let someone take him. But
I still just think there's trade value in him, so I wouldn't want to just lose him for nothing, you know.
But then you don't have to take, like, if you trade Claxton, you're gonna have to take on a bad contract. All right, let me do my 8, and then we can debate it out. So I'm taking all 5 rookies.
Jesus, I wouldn't touch Ben Surratt with a 10-foot ball.
I gotta play them to see if they suck or not, right? So all 5 rookies: Clowney, CT, and Sharp.
Okay, so you're getting rid of MPJ, Claxton, Mann, Zaire.
If someone wants to take MPJ's contract, take his contract. If someone wants to, if an expansion team wants to say, "I'm building my franchise," but my thing, I'm not going to lose Michael Porter Jr. An expansion team isn't going to take an injury-plagued 27-year-old on making $42 million a year.
I think he would be a top 2 pick. He'd probably be one of the best available players.
He would be, but dude, we just talked about this with Cam Thomas. Like, if you're paying him that much money, you're saying that's our guy.
Well, the thing is with an expansion team, you're likely not to be contending for at least 3 years because you're just starting your franchise, right?
Right. Yeah,
so it's very tough to actually contend immediately just based on drafting guys who are eligible for an expansion draft. So I don't think that they would necessarily be doing that. I think they would be looking at guys who can help them still get lottery picks and also guys who are going to allow them to free up some cap space in the near future. So MPJ being on a 2-year deal, you know, you could flip him the following year as an expiring contract to get 2 players of his value as well. Or you can just wait for his contract to expire and be in a position to sign a guy to a max contract. So if I'm an expansion team and Michael Porter Jr. is on the board, I'm probably taking him with my 1st or 2nd pick with ease.
Like, I mean, I don't want to lose him. That wasn't my goal, but like, okay, if I lose Michael Porter Jr., I lose Michael Porter Jr. I want to lose Claxton. You sure? You guys sure you want Michael Porter Jr.? Claxton's available.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's a contract to move. If he can stay at the same level of play that he's at, it's still a starting big man in this league. It's just he has to play with a secondary big that can do what he can't. So that's where his value lies.
I also think Michael Porter Jr., and I'm a Porter Jr. fan. I love the trade. I'm glad Porter Jr. is a net. Him, I mean this in the most, I homeschool my kids. I try to shelter my kids as much as possible. He's a homeschool kid from a very conservative family. This may be the worst place in the world for him, honestly. Like this might be, you can tell he's not the most streetwise person.
Did you see the video of the dude he tried to give money to that was homeless on the street? And he's in a new world for sure. It is interesting.
Cam Johnson said he went through this a little bit. Cam Johnson was from a really small town. He went to UNC. He said the biggest city he was ever in was a Pitt, and that was still more of a college town than it was a city. And he got and he was in the mountains, and that was great. And then he went to Brooklyn, and he was just like, oh. I think this is going to be even more of a culture shock for MPJ, but hopefully he did. Hopefully he can deal with that. So yeah, the reason I got to keep all 5 rookies. I draft. Look, do I think Danny Wolf's going to be any good? No. Do I think Surratt's going to be any good? Certainly not. But I drafted him for a reason, right? Like I would think that if a Danny Wolf would go. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. would go. We disagree with that. If you didn't protect Wolf, someone would take him at some point, right? Wolf would go. There's enough upside there. I don't know about Surratt. I'm only protecting Surratt in theory because of my theory that I have to protect my rookies. I got to see Surratt blows. I don't really care if you're saying go, but then I'm giving away 1st round pick. But Wolf, they would take Wolf. Why wouldn't they? Right? Like
I mean, Wolf has. I could see hit. I mean, think about it. If you're expanding the league, you have 2 teams. That's 15 picks per team. That's 30 picks. I
30
could
more
see
players.
Wolf
Yeah.
being a top 10 pick for a team that's expanding. That's an expansion team for sure, because it's like practically drafting a rookie. So yeah, I can 100% see Wolf getting taken somewhere. But I don't know. At the end of the day, you want to have a roster that's at least semi decent while still also being able to have valuable guys that you can flip and maintain assets with. So to me, I would stick with my picks just because I think Claxton and MPJ have some form of value, whether that's, lining up to the year that we're looking to compete with Michael Porter Jr.'s contract, or if it's the possibility of a team looking to add a guy like Claxton that you can get some value for.
To me, if you want to take the reason why you're not protecting Sharp. Sharp was the ninth guy, right? You took Man instead.
I took Man instead just because of the contract with the assets that you can get back in return for him. Yeah, Man's on a 3-year deal, $15.5 million. It's definitely something that you could move at some point.
To me, if you took Claxton, and then now I have to start Sharp at my center, which is what I want to do. Now I have my starting center making $6 million a year.
No, I definitely see the vision. It's just the value of a guy like Claxton, that I wouldn't necessarily move off of. That's kind of.
I also want Nick Claxton to understand one thing. I don't want you here anymore. This contract was a mistake. I don't want you here, man. Nothing against you. You seem like a hell of a nice guy. You really seem like a good dude. Outside of some hissy fits. Like, you seem like a good dude. You seem to like Brooklyn, but you suck, bro. It's nothing personal. Strictly professional with you. You're no good.
Man. Yeah.
We went through that pretty quickly. CT, Porter. Yeah, man. Claxton. Yeah. All right. You got anything else you want to add? I mean, we went through that quicker than I thought.
It's August 23rd. Can we get some shit done, Sean Marks? I'm bored over here. I don't know what my team look like.
We all know Sean Marks is sleeping. I keep waiting. Like, all right, let one more day go by. We'll get some Cam Thomas news. I don't think we're getting any Cam Thomas news. I honestly think it's this. It's we made you an offer. It was $14.1 million with a second-year option. Either you're going to sign it or you're not, but that's the end of the conversation. I kind of feel like that's what it is.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, is it though? Like,
meaning that this isn't done. Like, you got to figure some shit out. It's got to get done. You got to figure out what's going on with this roster long term.
Yeah, like, did you ever have a chick who was just like way too into you, and it's like, I'm not really into this chick, and then like she keeps texting you, and it's like, if there's absolutely nothing else to do, if none of my boys are free, there's no game on, I can't get any other chick to hang out with me, I guess I'll text her back. That's how they view Cam Thomas, right? Like, I just go away. If it's Friday night at 10 o'clock, and
it's kind of similar with like Kyrie, where it was like,
and no tail to go get, I will text you. Don't text me again.
Yeah, it's kind of similar with Kyrie, where it was like, it was evident that the front office didn't want him, but they were kind of just waiting on that time where he's like, all right, just get me out of here. And the moment that he was like, get me out of here, they traded him within 3 days. So I kind of see it as similar with Cam Thomas. They don't want him here. People got to figure this out. That's not
all right. D-Rock comments on this. Trey, CT, Powell, MPJ, Zaire, Clowney, Deron, Wolf.
Ugh. Jaeger won't be good enough for a second contract. That's crazy. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's not keeping
6'8" guard that can play, make, and space the floor. I don't see how you can't take that.
You just took him number 8 overall. You want to lose him in the expansion?
Yeah, I would just get rid of Zaire on that list and do Jaeger, because he can play the wing, he can play the point guard, gives you some versatility. But yeah, to say he's not going to make a second contract, I think that's blasphemy.
You know who's apparently not good enough for a second contract? Cam Thomas apparently isn't good enough for a second contract.
He's good enough for it. He's not taking the one we're providing.
He's not taking the one we're giving him. Which, like, I'll quote Jeff Teague again. I think it's an underpay, but there's nothing else out there. So you got to take, people say, I have this baseball card. It's worth $500. Can you get anyone to pay $500 for it? No. Well, that's not worth $500, right? And that's where we're at with Cam Thomas. Do I think he's worth more than $14 million a year? Yeah. Is anyone willing to pay more than $14 million a year?
Nope.
No. So, take what you can get.
By the way, I do want to mention, too, because I see that we've got some people. We got 20 people on YouTube right now. If you aren't subscribed already, feel free to subscribe. We're 18 away from 300, so we're on the road for that. If you haven't already, too, feel free to leave a like. It always helps. But yeah, I'm good on my end. Whenever if you have another topic to go through, we can. If not, then.
The last thing I want to talk about, you mentioned it. Trey Murphy looks like he's available. Why would he be available?
Don't get me fucking started.
Why
with
would
this
we
dude,
not
man.
pursue that with everything that we have in our? Why would we?
I would give up Nick Claxton, and I would give up 2 unprotected Knicks picks, whether it's 2028, 2029, whatever it may be. I would give up 2 if it means you can keep your 2026 while also adding Trey Murphy. I would 100% do it. Oh my God. I'd give up some shit to get Trey Murphy.
Why is he available in the first?
I don't think he's necessarily available. I think just teams want him because they also put out that they want a young player, and multiple first-round picks. And then after it said, the Pelicans are unlikely to trade him. So I think they're more so kind of listening to the value. But at some point, New Orleans needs to make a decision on: are you going to keep trying to contend with DeJounte and Zion, or are you going to blow shit up and build around Trey Murphy? You know what I mean? And if you're trying to contend with Zion and DeJounte, Trey Murphy could be seen as a piece to move on to go and get a superstar type of guy. But if you're looking to rebuild, and I don't know why they would trade Trey. I think he's incredible.
They have something there in him, right? So trading him to me just seemed bizarre.
It would be stupidity.
Yeah, what do we have the draft capital? But that's the kind of guy you want to trade your picks for, right? I don't want to sit and pick all of these picks. I want to trade for a young guy who can ball like Trey Murphy.
Dude, give up the 2027 protected Philly pick, give up a Knicks unprotected pick, and throw in an extra pick in there too if it's unprotected. I don't give a shit if it's the Denver one. I would do that in a heartbeat for as long as you can keep your 2026 first. By all means, go out and try and get Trey Murphy.
That we're not moving. Yeah.
And if you are going to move it, make sure it's top 10 protected.
So now you got something. You got Yegor, right? You got Murphy. It becomes an issue now. I guess at that point your lineup would be.
You would have to think Cam Thomas is gone and Claxton's traded for Murphy, right?
Cam Thomas is gone.
So let's just say the roster is looking like it would be what? Yegor at the 1, Traore at the 2.
Well, Murphy at the 3.
Yeah, Murphy at the 3, MPJ at the 4, Sharp at the 5. Still not great enough to win.
We're making progress though, and then Darren Peterson.
I could live with that. It's pretty fucking cool.
See, to me, if we added Trey Murphy, we're still not good, right? But that's a team. Okay, you got Trey Murphy, you got Yegor, you got Michael Porter Jr. Now you just need the superstar.
Trey Murphy has the ability to be a star in this league. I don't think people actually. New Orleans doesn't get the recognition in terms of media attention to at least showcase what Trey Murphy was able to do. But this is a guy who's extremely athletic at 6'8". He had showed incredible flashes of playmaking. I believe he averaged over 4 assists per game last year. He also averaged over 20 points per game last year and is an incredible 3-point shooter. He can also create his own shot off the dribble if it's in the mid-range, driving to the lane, or at the 3. This is a guy who genuinely has 3-level scoring ability with defensive ability. He could be a two-way player in this league as a third option. So no, I don't think you need to have a star around him to be able to give Trey Murphy the opportunities he needs. I think putting him next to guys like MPJ and Yegor, that could be huge for him, especially if you're trying to make Trey Murphy your second option in terms of long-term success. I think he has the ability to do it. A guy that could put up 23 per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 100%. I could see him doing that.
Hear me out though, right? So like to me now, you have a team that the NBA would want to put Darren Peterson on. Right, so if I'm moving forward, I have Yegor at the 1, Peterson at the 2, and Murphy at the 3, and Porter at the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. Now Darren Peterson can be relevant right away in a big
Oh my
market.
God! If you have a starting 5
I
the
might want
following
to put
season,
him there.
Yeah, if you have a starting 5 the following season of Yegor, Darren Peterson, Trey Murphy, MPJ, and Sharp, holy fuck, I'd be so excited. That would probably be the most excited I'd be for a season since the year that we played the Bucks in the semifinals.
Your thoughts real quick. So I would prefer Peterson, but I would have said Peterson. Devance is more right. He was the analogy that I made.
Ooh,
Kobe Bryant was clearly better. Okay, I want you to break it down a little bit more in depth. But let me give you my analysis, and I want you to break it down more in depth. Kobe Bryant was obviously better than Amari Stoudemire. He's been a basketball player. Right out of high school, who was better, Stoudemire or Kobe Bryant? I would say Stoudemire and Stoudemire.
Yeah.
So okay, good. That's the comparison I made. I think Peterson has more upside. I think Peterson will have the better career.
I view it as opposite. I think DeBansta has the higher upside.
Yeah, let me hear.
Yeah, I view it kind of similar to Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, right? Like who has the highest upside, but who's the more NBA ready and most likely to hit the ceiling of what they're being projected at. Harper, to me, is Cade Cunningham 2.0. I think he has a better chance of becoming that than Ace Bailey does of becoming a superstar. But the upside on each of the player, Dylan Harper's floor is much higher because he's going to be a solidified player in this league. Ace's ceiling, though, is so high because of the potential upside that he has in him. I kind of view that similar with Peterson and DeBansta, right? Peterson has the ability to where he can score from all three levels of the floor. He can play make as a lead guard, but he's primarily a combo guard. And he also has incredible defensive upside with his height and his positional skill. When you're looking at DeBansta, he's raw, but he's definitely a better prospect than Aces, just in terms of NBA readiness, but it's still very similar to where he's going to BYU. He's not going to have the best form of competition, but he has that flash and athleticism and scoring ability to where he could be something special in the league. So it's just the all-around game of Peterson that I find more NBA ready than DeBansta is currently.
Okay, so to me, like DeBansta can't miss, right? Like he's a physical freak.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be good at basketball, right? Like that's a foregone conclusion. And I think he'll be good right away. Peterson's game is more based on skill, right? To me, that could take a year or two to develop and further. I think the bench is going to go in the league and average 20 points a game, 8 rebounds off jump. Peterson might not. Peterson may take. I always say McGrady. McGrady couldn't crack the rotation his first year. His second year, he was a back end of the rotation guy. The third year, I think he was second, but he probably should have won Sixth Man of the Year that year. And it wasn't until his fourth year until he was really truly a superstar. So it took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
To me, like
I kind of view this draft class this upcoming year is practically just a 2021 draft class duplicated, right? Like Darren Peterson is your Cade Cunningham. AJ DeBansta is your Jalen Green, right? Like raw, incredible scorer, but still needs some work. And then Evan Mobley's your Cam Boozer, right? Your defensive anchor, high IQ, can do a little bit of everything, star. That's kind of how I view it. And then you have Scotty Barnes went 4th overall in that draft class. That could be your Nate Ament. So like genuinely, I think that this draft class has the ability to produce multiple all-star caliber players in the top 8, similar to what that draft class did. You had Mobley, who's an all-star. You have Cade, who's a superstar. You had Scotty Barnes, who's been an all-star. You have Franz Wagner in that draft class as well, who became an all-star. Like this class is very similar to that 2021 class, where you're gonna find gems throughout the entirety of the draft. It's just, again, those top 3 are gonna be your game changers. Those are gonna be your franchise guys who can really elevate your organization to the highest level. So, it's top 3 or bust for me. But at the end of the day, you drafted 5 guys this past season. If you're drafting in the top 6 next year, that's kind of your sign to, all right, let's develop these guys one more year, and in the following season, maybe let's go and grab a superstar. Because if you draft your 2 and your 3 and your 4, and you can add that number 1 through free agency or through the trade through the trade market, then that's another route that you can take with it.
This draft is so vital.
It is. This is probably the most important year in Nets history as of right now. Like, this is make or break.
I mean, we had years that we were competing for the championship, but I mean, this is a critically important year. Yeah, but I agree. Those years, the Jason Kidd era, where we were competing for a championship, or even Katie and Kyrie, you perceived there was a window there. There's no window this year. We need a top 3 pick. Like someone asked that in the chat earlier. What happens if we don't get a top 3 pick? And then we're screwed. Like, we suck forever. Like, it's gonna be bad for a long time if we don't get a top 3 pick. Yeah. I would say 4, because I think Clement is an impact player. Like, I think 4. Look, I want 1 or 2 in the worst one. I think if we get 1 or 2, our franchise is changed overnight.
Yeah.
3 or 4, I think we have a very, very good player. I know you still view 1, 2, and 3.
I still think Boozer is your Paolo Banchero. I do see it as an exact replica. And I view Darren Peterson as like a James Harden, just with defensive ability. So
that's a good player. James
Harden's one of the best players of all time just because of his offensive ability. If you add all-star caliber defense to him, my fucking God, he's a top 10 player of all time. So yeah, I mean, I think Peterson, Boozer, DeBanst, I think these are three. To me, how I view it, I think that there is a 50-50 chance of Boozer and Peterson going number 1 and 2, vice versa. Whoever doesn't go 1 goes 2, and I think DeBanst goes 3.
Interesting. Okay.
Because again, think about it, right? You got a guy at Kansas, you got a guy at Duke. Those are two prestigious organizations in college who are known to develop their players. And then you got a guy who's going to BYU. You know, like you can look great at BYU.
How much did he get to go to BYU?
I think over $4 million.
Yeah, you guys
something
gotta
crazy.
Remember, like we laugh at BYU because it's a small private school. It's the Mormon Church. It's the church. They've got a ton of money. You guys don't realize this. Like, this is how they're getting these football players. They have a ton of money to give out in NIL money. That's how they're getting these guys. Like, we can laugh. Like, why would he go to BYU?
I mean, realistically, BYU makes sense for a lot of these younger guys right now because they have an NBA style of coaching. Because they have Kevin, what is his name? The guy that was an assistant coach in the NBA that was up for head coaching jobs and ended up going to BYU. He's the head coach of BYU. So it makes sense for some of these guys because they run an NBA style system.
Kevin
Young, yes. He's just not prestigious yet. Like that organization isn't prestigious where you know that you're getting guys like guys who come out of Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, like the powerhouse schools. You know you're getting something out of those players, 8 times out of 10. BYU, they're trying to get to that point. They just haven't performed in the sense of winning to where you can understand if they're translating not into the NBA. Yegor is kind of the first guy that we're going to see in the NBA coming out of BYU as a top pick. So that'll kind of determine whether or not some of these guys are doing well in that system under Kevin Young. So it'll be interesting. But like I said, I do think DeBanst is the guy that falls to 3 just based on, the overall boomer bust potential and just the style of play he's coming into the NBA with. I definitely think Peterson and Boozer are going to be the 2 competing for number 1.
All right, Dylan. That's really all I got today. It's a good show, good stream.
Definitely.
We covered a lot in a short amount of time. When are we? Assuming nothing breaks with Cam Thomas.
Let's shoot for Tuesday.
We go for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do Tuesday. That sounds good. There's not much to talk about. I'm trying to do a show as much about.
I know it's really tough.
Like, I had to scrap at pieces to get this show together. I think this went pretty well.
Definitely. No, this was a fun one. Again, if you guys are in here still, feel free to subscribe. Leave a like. It always helps.
But don't feel free. Feel obliged. Feel obligated to subscribe. It's free. Don't feel free. Feel obligated to. It's an obligation. It's your moral obligation to subscribe to this channel if you have not already. All right. We'll be back on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. It's August 23rd, 2025 from Texas to the world. Thank y'all and God bless.
Later.